the SuperMotocross World Championship on the line this Saturday from Las Vegas. SMX Insider has the preview and review.
What a bounce back! Completely exhausted! Jo Shimoda! He gave it everything he had! Hunter Lawrence goes 1-3 for the overall!
Who else can get involved? Kitchen versus Deegan? What about Lawrence v. Lawrence 2.0? 30 rounds down and 1 to go with so much on the line. SMX Insider is next. Yeah, welcome to SMX Insider. We are the Jasons, Weigandt and Thomas, and this is it, JT. 31st race of the season, World Championships on the line, big prestige, big money, and thanks to a wild set of events at the second playoff race in St. Louis, it really is on the line. We were on the precipice of Jet Lawrence and Haiden Deegan walking away. That didn't happen.
Yeah, leaving the first round, I was like, oh man, this could be a runaway. If Jet and Haiden win round 2 and they get that double point separation, they're gonna be on easy street going into Las Vegas, and I should know better because every time we think we know what's going to happen in these playoff rounds, with this point structure, we look foolish, and this is no different than that. So here we are going into the finale with championships up for grabs in both classes, and there are about 12 different scenarios that could play out on Saturday that are gonna keep us guessing and keep our man Quentin Fowler with SMX Facts on the calculator the entire time, and we're gonna have a lot of movement mid-moto. That's my guess.
Yes, we will preview all that in this episode. We'll even tell you how riders like Eli Tomac are not out of it, even though the focus is Hunter and Jet Lawrence battling, it appears, between themselves only for the title, but that's not the case with triple points. Tomac and others could still win it. Same thing, Jo Shimoda leads the 250 class. Don't count out riders like Seth Hammaker. But the big thing that shook all this up, we'll get deeper into it in the 30 board, but we have to mention this Levi Kitchen situation. Not specifically just about Kitchen, JT, but I think it shows how in a 3-race playoff, you can't predict anything.
Yeah, and I would say there's kind of a subplot there too. Haiden Deegan has not made many friends in this 250 class, and riders like Ricky Carmichael would be one of the first ones to tell you it helps to have friends when you need it most in championship moments. And we're gonna find out how exactly this plays out, but will this be the time where his brashness, his aggression towards everyone else on the racetrack comes back to bite him and changes the course of a championship?
Yeah, this isn't just conjecture. We've had meetings and hangouts at the track where Ricky literally says, I tried to be extra nice to you, JT, because I knew you were friends with Chad Reed, my rival, and I didn't want you to try to help Chad. He literally has said these words.
Well, he gives me more credit than probably is due because he would go by me so fast, there wasn't anything I could do anyway. I would have been completely aiming in the dark because he was a blur going past me every single time. So while I appreciate his sentiments, the likelihood of me doing anything to slow him down were basically zero.
Yeah, but it just shows the mind of these racers, how they're extra friendly to each other when they need some help. But that is not the way Deegan has played it. And that means that Shimoda is now the series leader going into the final race of the year. We're going to talk about all that. Point scenarios you didn't even think about, motivation for riders that you didn't even think about, and of course, what the heck happened between Kitchen and Deegan. But let's bring in the experts, Ricky Carmichael, who we mentioned, and James Stewart, our big interview, and we shot this right after the race concluded at St. Louis when all the emotions were still raw.
All right, big interview time. We're talking Las Vegas, even though we're in St. Louis. The Jasons with James Stewart and Ricky Carmichael, because we got a lot to unpack as we look at the finale. I'm going to go back to, believe it or not, what Seth Hammaker said after the dramatic conclusion of Monster Energy Supercross. He said, what I learned was, I know everybody says anything can happen with a title on the line, but I didn't realize what that really meant until RJ Hampshire knocked him down to win the title. We are starting to see again what that means. We didn't expect Levi Kitchen to be part of this 250 story, but boy, did we get a reminder that anything can happen in racing, and it just sets the stage. I'll go to you first, RC. With a title on the line and that much money, we might see more fireworks.
You're throwing me on the hot seat
Come on, man. It's going to be crazy.
I'm happy to say it. Yeah, I mean, Deegan is in a spot. If Jo is in front of him, he's got to do something.
Yeah.
He has to make it to where Jo doesn't get at least second, assuming Haiden wins. He has to. It's for the SMX World Championship.
Yeah.
What is he just going to do, lay up and
right.
let Jo get second? Come on.
I don't think Haiden has that here.
Come on. So yeah, I'm saying that's what he's got to do. He'd be crazy not to.
Yeah, and then Joe gets punished from what Levi did.
Yeah.
So yeah, great.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, what do you do?
He has to, and you know, it's gonna be great. I can't wait for Vegas, but yeah, there's gonna be action in Vegas. Yeah, it's just gonna be action in Vegas. That's what it is.
I mean, that's what I mean. You're exactly right. Levi put Haiden in this position, so we're blaming you, Levi.
If Joe's on the ground next week, it's Levi's fault.
It's Levi's fault.
JT.
I mean,
Well, let's talk about something a little less volatile than that. Let's jump to the 450 class. We have basically the same setup that we had a year ago, and one of these two, you know, Hunter or Jet, seems like they're going to walk away with SMX World Championship here. I think Jet, we kind of know what he needs to do. He go out, win the race. That's kind of what he does anyway. But if, you know, you're Hunter, and you guys got to speak with him a little bit there, think about his game plan, and he's so analytical about how to do these things. If it's one of you guys, how do you get Jet off of his game a little bit? How do you get him uncomfortable? Because I think most people would assume, all things being equal, maybe Jet gets the job done. So it seems to be that Hunter needs to disrupt that a bit.
No, I think what he needs to do is hopefully just take his trash out, right? Wash his car, clean his house, and hopefully maybe get to Vegas, maybe get another baby gift. Who knows? Because we know how Jet is. He's very friendly sometimes. But joking around, I sense a different look in both those guys' eyes. Like, I think Jet understands Hunter's riding really good. And you go back to last year, it was Hunter's first year as a rookie. I don't know if he really believed that he could beat his brother. I feel like, just listening to him, he actually feels like he can go beat him no matter what Jet does. And tonight, he rode good. Last weekend, he was the fastest. So I think you got the same scenario, but I think the mentality is a little different going into Vegas. And look, for $1 million, I do a lot of things. You know, I would just say this. Me and Malcolm, our relationship might not be as close if I was put in that situation with him right now. I'm just
What
saying
are you
that.
saying? Like, you're going to take him out for the chip?
Blame Levi.
I agree with, I don't know if he's so analytical, but I think he's pragmatic. I like that mind approach. You know that going in there, he's even Steven. And I think he takes this race just as he would any other race. He's going to go try to get a good start, and he's going to ride his race. Now, if it's the last lap and his brother's ahead of him, I think he's going to give him some elbow grease. Not completely clean him out, but I think he's going to make a pass so that he can win. That's what I would think that he would do. I'm not saying I know that's what he's going to do, but that's how I would, if I had my crystal ball, that's how I think it goes.
So what's going on, though, with this second round of the series? This is 3 years in a row where he's had a ho-hum opener, and then he comes out and wins the second round. Like, it seems like, it just, all things being considered, it's coincidence. Is that what it is, or is there something that he's figured out kind of rebounding off that first round? Because he has shown up every single time. It doesn't matter if it's in a stadium. It doesn't matter if it's a speedway. That guy has brought his best stuff to round 2 3 years running.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit what Ricky just said. You know, his attitude, you know, he's not high and low. He doesn't go up and down. And when you have the second race, we talk about the first one, it's look, get your feet warm. Then it's that double points. Every rider knows if you want a shot at winning this title, it's round 2 that's probably the most important to even get to Vegas. And I feel like you have Hunter Lawrence that just continues being the same, or you have other guys, either they can come out here and win, or they can have an off night because of the circumstances and pressure. And I think Hunter Lawrence just keeps that even keel. And so for him backing up 3 years in a row, it ain't coincidence. There's something working with him, and I just go back to his attitude. He's the same person, and now he's good enough, and he believes that he can show up and beat anybody. I think that's what you get in the results now.
Good analysis, boys. We'll see everybody on Saturday in Las Vegas with a lot we're pretty sure to talk about after that one as well. 30-second board. These are the topics heading into the last race of the year. We'll start with the 450 class. Want to talk points. I think everyone knows the basics, which is with the 6-point gap between Jet and Hunter Lawrence, whichever one of those two wins the race in a triple point scenario would be the world champ. That's the simple math. It's a little more elaborate than that. Eli Tomac, JT, at 16 points down, triple points. It's not over. He just needs someone to get between himself and the Lawrences, which is not impossible. I mean, we just saw what could happen in one race. And then I'm also looking at Sexton in 4th, the Hampshire in 8th,
That's super close. That's huge swings money-wise between those spots, and we don't know what we're getting from Sexton. One good race, one bad race. So there's probably a lot more math and a lot more on the line here than we're thinking when we just say, it's Hunter and Jet, winner take all.
It does feel straightforward on the surface, but we should know better than that by now. If you take anything for granted in this championship, you're going to likely be wrong. So those two have kind of flipped. Last year, Hunter came in with the advantage. It was still a winner-take-all scenario. They came down to a tie at the end, but Jet was able to get there. This year, Jet has the advantage, but really, if they go out and execute the way they have at this finale, it won't matter. It will be who wins this race. And Tomac, he's mentioned a few times, he would wish that the points were closer. That was kind of his goal, is to take it to Vegas and see if he can pull it out. And it's not impossible. Unlikely, sure, but stranger things have happened in Las Vegas than Tomac winning and chaos behind him. So I do think we're going to get a little bit more drama than it feels like on the surface.
But it is between the brothers right now. And we've talked about this a million times, Hunter versus Jet. I think it's also underrated that rarely do we see teammates get along this well, let alone brothers. But here we are. I think the one thing we can say is you're not going to see family drama. It hasn't happened yet, but it is wild to have two brothers battling for this again.
It's incredible. And, I think it's almost expected from Jet. Every championship we enter, we talk about Jet. He's the favorite for many coming into a championship. But really, the meteoric rise from Hunter, we're just getting confirmation of that. Last year it was like, he's great in Pro Motocross, really had taken a step forward in the SMX playoffs, but now it feels like he's kind of that guy. Like he should be in that conversation moving forward when we talk about championships, and he's really driving that point home now. For anyone who was kind of looking at it a little bit speculatively, and I would put myself in that camp, I always thought like he was just a step off of everyone else. He's having to make me take a second look at that narrative, and good for him. This has been one of the feel-good stories of the 2020s for me, is the rise of Hunter Lawrence.
Look at the track map here from Las Vegas. It's going to be different than last year. It looks to me, at least.
Yeah, I think for Las Vegas, it has a little bit of everything, and it's going to be the fastest racetrack of the 3 playoff rounds. And if you look at it last year on the surface level, it feels similar to last year, but wait a second, we're going the opposite direction. So riders are going to be like in familiar confines. They're going to understand the dirt. They're going to understand the types of obstacles. But the opposite direction is certainly going to change some things. The upside is settings-wise, I think they'll know exactly kind of where they want to go. But again, this is a much faster racetrack, especially when you get away from the drag strip itself. On that back section, it's going to be really high speed. And I think there are certain riders that it does help. And I would name one right off the bat. A guy like Kitchen-Deegan will love those faster type sections. It's where he's been able to make up time in the past. We'll get into him a little bit later, but on a race where he's going to absolutely need to win, I think this track works in his favor.
Well, there are so many factors to think about: the track, the stakes, and all that, and how that might impact the results. And that includes going to the experts here, James Stewart and Clinton Fowler, trying to figure out where the smart money is, this time in Las Vegas.
Thanks, Jay. All right, guys. You know who it is. It's your boy JS7, and we are here on the Insider Show. I'm joined with my co-host, Mr. Clinton Fowler. We're going to break it down for you on the inside line type. Clinton, this is it. This is the season finale. We got Jet Lawrence versus Hunter Lawrence. We got the brother on brother crime. What do the odds say?
They've got the favorite, no surprise, is Jet Lawrence. And James, the stats kind of say that. You look at their careers, just look broad career. Jet Lawrence, 59 starts. He's got 38 wins. In a winner-take-all scenario, 64% of the time he's winning the races. That's pretty good odds. Hunter Lawrence, 48 career starts. He's got 3 wins. That's a 6%. The numbers don't say it's optimal for Hunter. And if there's icing on the cake here, Jet Lawrence has been perfect the last 2 years in the final race. He's gone 1-1 for first overall. James, it's tough to bet against Jet Lawrence.
Yeah, it is. It is. History would say it shouldn't even be close, but I'm gonna tell you why it is. Because of this year and what Hunter Lawrence been able to do. So far this year, Hunter Lawrence was your fastest in Charlotte. He rode good. He got a bad start, but he was your fastest rider on the track. Jet won. Last weekend, Hunter Lawrence was the fastest rider
he looked great. He dominated that first race and was right there with the second one. Jet Lawrence and obviously ends up winning overall. So this year they've been split. To me, Hunter Lawrence is a different rider than he was last year. So even though the odds say, look, Jet Lawrence, Hunter has been just as good, literally just as good as his brother this year. Really close speed-wise, his pace, he's ready to go. So don't be shocked to see Hunter Lawrence win this overall straight up. You don't need no freakish. Like, he could go out and beat Jet Lawrence this weekend, his brother, considering he probably want a little bit of payback from last year. And he's mentioned that he's got a little house he's trying to build. So there's some motivation from there. Hunter Lawrence, to me, is really close to just beating his brother this weekend for this championship. I said all that to say this. Man, that dude on number one, that dude is clutch. And when it's clutch time, put all the stats out the way, Jet Lawrence always shows up and wins. So you can't be mad at him being the favorite. I would probably choose him, but don't be surprised. Hunter Lawrence is not a long shot this weekend. He is right there, and he might get it done. All right, people. It's been a pleasure. It's nice joining this year. We'll see you guys next year. Appreciate you guys seeing it. Clinton has been, as always, is awesome. Back to you, Jason.
Okay, and now we return to the 250 class, but we have to go back to what has massively impacted this title. Literally, we talked about it a bit at the top of the show, but Levi Kitchen. Look, I guess part of it, he explained, he went on a couple talk shows this week and explained he was racing for himself. He hasn't had good starts all year. There's double points. If he can have a good score in St. Louis, really helps him to position himself better and maybe make a lot of money in Vegas. That's part of it, but come on, man. There's definitely history between him and Deegan.
There is, and this has been going on for a long time. You know, when they were teammates, after they were teammates, there has been so much back and forth between these two to add context to a move like that. And when you listen to Levi Kitchen's comments, he says, hey, I was racing for position. I'm trying to get forward. The starts and first lap positioning were so critically important at that St. Louis round that I needed to get to the front. That can be true. But also, when I look at this move, just purely in and of itself, Levi Kitchen crossed several ruts to get to Kitchen-Deegan. You can look at the angle that he takes, how aggressive it is going into the corner. That really kind of tells intent. That's like the story beneath, you know, like the second fold of the newspaper there. And yes, I think he went in trying to make contact. Now, did he want to knock Haiden down? Probably not. He certainly didn't want to knock himself down, but he went in there to make a very aggressive pass, and he knew contact would be very likely. And these are the types of things that can happen. But I will say, I'm very surprised that it hasn't happened sooner when you look at the history between these two and the jawing back and forth, both verbally and on social media, that has gone on for years now. I'm actually surprised it's taken this long to get there.
Yeah, and by the way, this is not you or I endorsing this. We are just reporting on why it possibly happened. It's not us saying this is fair or foul. It's just, why would Levi Kitchen do this? And as much as people have seen on social media and the comments Deegan leaves on the podium that everyone sees, JT, you've said down trackside, when the cameras aren't on, sometimes it's even worse, stuff we don't know about.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think Haiden has used it well. Like, it's been effective. He has been able to push these guys around and have his way with the 250 class at large for multiple seasons now. So it's really hard to kind of criticize the approach or the strategy. I just felt that if you put these two near the front of the pack for long enough, and these feelings are bubbling beneath the surface, eventually they're going to show up on the racetrack. And finally, in St. Louis, we got it. And it would not shock me at all if we got it again moving forward.
Ooh, yeah, that's right. Because look, we've done a million of these shows, us, our colleagues, all saying, Deegan trash talks these guys, but they don't do anything about it. Well, somebody did, and it might be very, very costly for Deegan, even though Kitchen's saying that had nothing to do with it. It was just racing, and I was trying to move to the front. Somewhere there's a mixture of percentage versus percentage. So now it leaves us with Jo Shimoda leading the points coming in. Kind of a reminder of 2023 when it was actually Shimoda versus Deegan for the first SMX World Championship. And Shimoda got aggressive with Deegan in the first moto at the finale that year to actually lead Deegan in points going into the final moto. Deegan was able to dig it out, but maybe it's been building to this for the entire 2 years since then. Maybe it's been building for it for the second half of this year. Shimoda versus Deegan, and remember, Shimoda has some insurance. He doesn't even need to finish, to win. He just needs to get second.
Well, and this is the opportunity that Joe's been looking for. You know, he kind of got robbed a little bit in Monster Energy Supercross. The broken finger wasn't his fault. He's coming off winning the opening round at Anaheim. And then in Pro Motocross, he was great. Haiden was better, but Joe was great. And then that points got built up, and Joe could really never bring it back down, even though you could argue at times, certainly at Unadilla, that Joe was the best rider. Well, now, in a 3-race run to a championship, Joe has a chance. The points were brought back down to 3 going into the Concord round, and now he has his shot at it. I don't know if he can do it. He's going to be up against it because there are going to be a lot of blue motorcycles that are going to be out to help Haiden and, bigger picture, help Yamaha win another championship. But if Joe was looking for a chance, and you know, in his heart of hearts, he was going to bed thinking, if I could just get a shot at this thing, I can do it. Well, here it is. So will he or won't he is the question, but this is the best opportunity at a championship that Jo Shimoda has had since Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum 2 years ago.
Well, look, on paper, he only needs to get first or second, so the odds are on his side. So let's look at the 2 scenarios that could prevent that from happening. One, you already mentioned, the Yamaha teammates. The other one I already mentioned, which is there's incentive for every rider in that field. That includes the very capable Seth Hammaker, for example, and other riders that could beat Joe and knock him to 3rd or worse if Deegan wins. But there's one other huge factor. Forget the darn teammates. Why won't Haiden just take it into his own hands? They're going to be on the track all day Friday, all day Saturday, then 2 motos. Why doesn't Deegs try to follow him, rough him up, get in his head, do whatever it takes? Why wouldn't he?
Well, I think you're going to see gamesmanship. You think about the way he kind of went after Tom Vial out of nowhere at Salt Lake City in 2024. I absolutely could see it going that way. And I think if nothing works and it's coming down to desperation time in Moto 1 or Moto 2, he doesn't have any help, there are no other Yamahas nearby to kind of get in between them, then I think you're going to see him take exactly that approach. But I think you will see a systematic approach. You'll see him ramp up trying to aggravate him, try to get in his head on Friday, Saturday, more of that. And then he will hope that he's got a fleet of Yamahas all around him. The resurgence of Nate Thrasher that we saw certainly could be a help. Max Anstey, if he gets a start, I think he's in the fight as well. But if none of that occurs, then I think you're going to see Deegan go directly at Joe in the way you're talking about, and you'll see contact. We've seen it for how long now over the years. If there's no other answer, think about 2009 Chad Reed on James Stewart. If there's no other answer, then guess what? You just go in and try to handle it yourself.
Well, hey, we only have to go back as far as May and the Supercross finale with Julian Beaumer, who's a pseudo teammate of RJ Hampshire, messing with Hammaker, which allowed Hampshire to get to Hammaker, and then he knocked them both down. Anything goes with titles on the line. And if it's going to go down in qualifying, remember to watch Race Day Live Saturday afternoon. Those 2 qualifying sessions, you know that everyone will be locked in on Deegan and Shimoda to see if it starts early. Something will probably start. I don't know how intense it'll be then, but like you said, it's just going to keep on ramping up. Okay, SMX medical update here. We bring in the good doctor, Joe McGinley. I want to talk about Seth Hammaker. Normally we talk about bumps and bruises and those type of injuries with you. That's really where you specialize. But Seth has admitted we knew he had some sort of physical ailment the last couple of years of his career, which really hurt him outdoors. He has said now it is colitis. And what really surprised me, he told me personally at St. Louis, 2 motos make it tough. These are shorter races than outdoor motocross. It's not as hot. We'll be racing under the lights or under a roof like we did in St. Louis. But he said having the endurance for 2 motos to ramp it back up is a problem, and he needs to. He could win the whole thing this weekend. So what do you know about colitis and how that could affect him?
Well, first, to be clear, this is not my specialty, but nonetheless, this is where we provide services to riders that we can refer out. Ironically, one of the riders on our team was dealing with this as well. So I think it's probably more prevalent in the sport, but just people don't want to talk about it for obvious reasons. Now, for the fans listening out there, colitis can be in essentially 1 or 2 main categories. So you can have infectious colitis. That's where you get food poisoning. You're down for a few days. Obviously, it doesn't feel good. It's not comfortable. And you really can't do much for a day or 2. That's infectious colitis, usually self-limited. It goes away on its own. The other type, more chronic, is inflammatory bowel disease, and there's typically 2 in that category, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And what these are inflammation of the colon, so that's your large bowel, it can get inflamed over time. That'll affect a number of things. One, it'll affect absorption of fluid and materials through the bowel, but you can get severe stomach pain, you can get fatigue, you're running to the bathroom quite a bit, can be very problematic. Now, unfortunately, if you're in that category of inflammatory bowel disease or colitis, this gets worse with stressful situations. So if you're an athlete and you're out there trying to perform at a high level, this can be very problematic, both on the nutritional side of things, the uncomfort side of things, but also just the fatigue that's going to build up over time. So the more you're pushing, the longer the event, the more problematic this can become. And it can be not only distracting, but can affect performance. This is much more common than you would imagine in the sport, and it really can affect athletic performance.
Okay, so 2 questions on that front. One is the fatigue, a result of lack of absorption of nutrients, and also, what does treatment for this look like? You hear about your athlete on your supported team, they're getting treatment. I'm sure Seth Hammaker is trying to find ways to improve his condition as well. But how are some of the ways that they would basically find a temporary solution, at least on race day anyway?
Yeah, you have to stay hydrated, make sure your electrolytes are well maintained, make sure you're staying on top of it preventatively. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of new treatments out there. If you go to a GI specialist, there's lots of new medications out there that can sort of put you in a remission and put you in more to a chronic state. But then also working with the nutritionist, seeing if there's certain foods that'll irritate your bowel, see if there's other ways to get this under control. It's an inflammatory process, so just think your entire colon's inflamed, how uncomfortable that must feel. If your joint's inflamed, that's usually localized to one area, but if it's your bowel, that's going to make your whole abdomen not feel great. Again, there's going to be a lot of trips to the restroom in that situation, so it compounds upon itself. But maintaining your nutrition, proper hydration, that's going to be first steps, but working with the GI specialist, making sure they're putting you on the proper medications that work for you and put you in more to a chronic remission state.
All year long. Thanks for all the info. Once again, I've learned a ton of stuff that I didn't know before this interview began, so we appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, and good luck this weekend in Vegas.
Okay, let's wrap this up by getting into the details of the Las Vegas event. First of all, congrats out to Haiden Mandir, who won the SMX Next World All-Stars Championship with the 2 races they held in St. Louis. That's a wrap on that title. World All-Stars 250s will not compete in Vegas. There will be the return of the KTM Juniors, who we've not seen in a couple of months since Monster Energy Supercross wrap. That's always a fun and entertaining show for the fans in the stands. But the full focus will be on the 250s and 450s this weekend. But it is the return of the 2-day format for fans. St. Louis only had a Saturday Fan Fest, so Friday fans will be in just like they were in Charlotte. So that means some practice sessions, live press conference that fans can ask questions to, you and I on stage with the podcast mashup Friday evening. And again, fans can ask questions there. A lot of things that you don't ever get to do on Friday at any other race except for the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right, Weege. And I was so surprised by how many people came up to me on Saturday in St. Louis and said, man, we would have loved to have this Friday event, all the activities, the podcast, being able to watch practice in St. Louis, just like we had in Concord and like we will have in Las Vegas. So you take a step back and wonder, like, are people really enjoying this? Like, is this really working? And I, from that feedback alone, I'd have to say it's been a huge success, and I'm looking forward to the Las Vegas edition of this. My favorite aspect of it is that podcast that you mentioned, getting to talk to the fans, getting to bench race with James Stewart, for me, will never get old, because like there were hard feelings at times between he and I. Like, we were on very opposite sides of the fence on many things, and now all of those barriers are down, and I get to ask him things that I would have never got to ask him before, and I always wondered about. And I think that's the same for the fans. For them, getting to talk to him, for one, and getting to ask him burning questions they probably had since he was racing is just an opportunity that other sports are not granted. So come hang out. It's going to be a great time, and it always is.
And then also some improvements. So this is the second year of holding a race there at the drag strip in Las Vegas. So we mentioned there's going to be better entrance, egress for the fans in and out of the pits, a little bit better organization where the pits are laid out. Again, we learned a lot last year. And also this free shuttle service to get folks from the racetrack to the strip. That is first come, first serve. Thanks to our friends at Monster Energy for helping provide that. So a little bit better experience, even if you had a good one last year, might be even better. So come on out for both days in 2025. All right, that's it. Round 31 is all that is left to determine who makes millions of dollars who gets to hoist the trophy and say they're the world champ. It is every bit on the line. We'll show you when and where you can watch it. This is a night race, truly. It's Las Vegas time, so qualifying coverage on Race Day Live starts at 4:30 Eastern on Saturday, the pre-race show at 9:30 Eastern, and the gate drops at 10 o'clock Eastern. That's 7 o'clock out in Las Vegas. Get that nighttime Vegas feel under the lights. Hey, it's better than when they run that F1 race out there and they're, what is it, like 2 in the morning or something like that. This will be a perfect atmosphere. You cannot pick a better city to determine a world championship with all this on the line than Vegas. But JT, I think what everybody wants to see, maybe not the riders on the track, they'd probably like it to be a little more procedural, but I think everybody hopes that when you boil an entire season down to one race, that things get crazy. 2 classes, that much on the line, I gotta imagine there are some surprises in store.
Again, anytime we think we have figured out what's going to happen in these playoff races, we are proven wrong. I cannot imagine why that trend would change in the city of Las Vegas.
Perfect. Okay, folks, we will see you again Friday. Come on out to the track for the live press conference that JT and I will host. End the day with the podcast mashup. Watch the riders ride, get autographs, do all that on Friday. Have a good time Friday night. It's Vegas. Come on back Saturday, and we're going to find out who the Super Motocross World Champions in 2025 are going to be.